Welcome to the Transform Your Wedding podcast, a how-to guide for taking your wedding to a whole new level. Here's your host, Marie Kubin from Rent My Wedding.
Hey everyone, today we're talking all about fall wedding decor trends. I'll be chatting with Chelsy Ferguson, the owner and lead wedding planner for The Gathering Company. Hey Chelsy, well thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to talk about all the wedding things today.
Yeah, fall is one of my favorite times of year, so I'm really excited to hear what's trending for this season. So
Absolutely.
a little bit about that. What do you see kind of in general that's coming up for fall weddings?
Yeah, so this might look a little different for this year, just with how last year went and trending into a year full of a mix of weddings that look different or may have rescheduled. Some things that we are definitely seeing from a lot of our couples is surprisingly a lot of weekday weddings are starting to trend. So especially with the amount of reschedules we've seen, with also just lovely new couples looking to get married. Weekday weddings, I think, are a little more accepted this year. Seeing a lot of those Thursday weddings or sneaking into like a holiday that may be on a weekday. It's definitely something that we've seen grow as far as dates.
I know.
Yeah.
We've
So
waited so long, so it's like we can't wait anymore. We need to get married on Wednesday.
yeah, and we're all for it. Weekends are definitely packed, and we love when new couples can find that perfect weekend date too. But just encouraging couples that the perfect weekday date can also work for you, and you can still have a fabulous time with guests. So that's a pretty big one that's been changing for this year. Another one is sustainability, which I think is really exciting. We have a lot, I think just throughout last year, it's allowed a lot of space for couples to think about who they're choosing and how their wedding is impacting maybe their carbon footprint. And we've had a lot of increase in that discussion from couples across the board. So ones that still love to use, full traditions and flowers, just still thinking through maybe where those flowers came from and who the vendor is behind what they're hiring. So I think the awareness of sustainability and who they're hiring and why they're hiring them has increased tremendously, especially throughout the relationships from
Yeah, I
this
definitely
year.
agree. Yeah, more and more couples are really just thinking about, like you said, where their vendors are sourcing everything. Is this something that's
Yeah,
going to get thrown in the trash after the wedding and just used one time, or is there a way to actually repurpose and reuse things? So,
exactly.
yeah, I love that that's becoming such a big part of wedding planning now, and especially with everything else going on, it's great to focus on something positive like that and making a difference.
Absolutely. I completely agree. It's so heartbreaking to throw away all the gorgeous stuff after a wedding. And so we try and take it, and give it to people or whatnot. But loving that that is a huge part of the conversation now, and growing to be even more. So, yeah, completely agree. And probably could guess this one, but we are seeing a fluctuating trend with the average guest count. I think just naturally it's moved, especially from our area in the Triangle of North Carolina, from like 150 to 175, slowly coming down to 75 to 125, being that average count that we see consistently. And I think it's going to continue to trend into that direction, um, especially those who may want to have a small ceremony and then a bigger celebration, or they want to just prepare to have a smaller wedding. We're all for a huge party. I am so down for 200 people, 300 people, everyone I have. But that is a trend, I think, throughout last year. If people saw friends get married with smaller counts, or just seeing that you can do that and still have such an amazing day and maybe put your budget or your time towards other things, and having an extra 100 people there has been a trend that we've seen.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how many trends are kind of coming out of the pandemic that just stick around because people realize like, hey, I actually like how we're doing things now.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting to see the changes that are going to be, I think, long-term changes in the wedding industry as a whole.
Yes, I agree. So, we're even having very early on inquiries for 2022 just for people to feel like they have a date, and that is still something that's sticking around. And I think, yeah, just obviously trying to look past the pandemic, but I think it has shown a lot of different ways we can do weddings, and I think that would be one that probably stays around for a lot of people. Yeah, and so I guess piggybacking off of that, one thing that has grown a lot in popularity is pod seating. So in your seating chart, creating ways to have people sit together that are very familiar with one another, feel good about taking their masks off. I think that's still going to be a thing for the fall, even if numbers increase and we're doing a lot better. I think maybe having people still sit in those pods of people that they're comfortable being around without some of the restrictions that may lift or grow in a healthier direction is going to be something that stays around for the fall. Yeah, and we've even seen that in ceremony seating as well. It's actually become it's become so amazing with the flow of the events. If we go ahead and grab that seating chart for the ceremony, we can actually make your aisles still look amazingly symmetrical and then have your chairs spaced out for how many that group needs and even have their group name on the chair. And so they come in, they know they don't have to fight for a seat in the aisle or grab 5 chairs and panic if they're getting there a little later. It's just really nice for the fluidity of the event as well.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. That's something I haven't actually heard before, but it makes complete sense planning the seating for the ceremony. I also think that's another thing that might stick around long term because, if you're already making the seating chart for the reception, why not utilize it for the ceremony as well? And it takes the stress out for all the guests too, like you said. So that is such a great idea. I love
Exactly. Good. Yeah, we've tried it, especially just trial and error through the past few months, and that's something that we've seen taken in really positive light with guests as well. And yeah, I think it just creates a calm atmosphere where they can just walk up, give us their name, and we take them to their seat. So I think it'll definitely stay around for the fall and possibly beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah, but rolling into the reception, we've seen a couple of things just for some trends with the wedding. And I think one is more of a plated meal service. Just creating those amazing place settings. And I will dive into decor in a little bit, but having the opportunity to do a plated meal that creates safety. Again, just for the fall season, still having that intact, or service attended stations are a huge trend. So you can still create a gorgeous, intentional place setting, but your meal, it's coming from the hands of the safety of the kitchen straight to the guest. And, caterers have been wonderful, and it's just a conversation you have to have about switching possibly a buffet to that kind of style without losing your menu or the feel of maybe a relaxed formal versus a very formal event. I still think it's something that we'll see a lot of in the fall.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And, we've seen that as well, where it's, the buffets are really just not happening right now. And even, some people want to do that family style and passing plates. So it's interesting to see how it's really changed that dinner and how the catering is done. So yeah, I definitely agree. The plated dinners are the way to go now. And if anything, it's still really gorgeous and beautiful to do it that way. And it gives you a chance to really dress up the tablescape and make that gorgeous. Yeah. So, it's one of those things that, again, we had to do it because of the pandemic, but it's not necessarily bad.
Yeah, definitely not bad. And, one of our core values at our company is, increasing the community portion of the event. You're there to connect with guests and have guests connect with guests. And even if you have maybe pod seating or something like that, plated meals or organized service stations allow your guests to not have to really worry about getting up and waiting in a line for food. So even if your event is more on a casual feel side for dinner, you still allow more room for increased conversation and them not having to get up and actually worry about their food. It's just brought to them. And so it elevates the experience as well, which has been really nice to see.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess just off of that, I think favors took, I think, a dip down in the last couple of years, just not being as expected, or that's not really a huge priority in the budget. But I have seen that starting to work its way back into the event industry with masks being, whether it's a little monogram or something that you have a little welcome gift for guests as they arrive to the wedding day that includes maybe a little sanitizer or a cute mask and things that make them feel like they were thought about, but also they'll use. And it also helps with safety. So it's kind of two birds with one stone, providing that safety element, but also making them feel like we really thought about you when we pushed forward with our wedding. So
Definitely. Yeah, I love how you phrased it, a welcome gift. I think that's such a cool concept. Instead of having it sitting on the table where you have everything else going on with the dinner, you can also have it just at, the entrance way, have it on a table and have that welcome gift. I think that's a nicer way to do it, honestly. And I love that trend as well, doing the welcome gifts for weddings.
yeah, and it can look in so many different ways. If you want to be savvy, you can even do like a cute small little gift that just has a couple of sanitizers in it and a little thank you note. If your guest count's a little larger, but you can go extravagant as having larger things. But yeah, again, I think it's a really cute way to say we've been through a year and we're ready to get married and have you here. And it's just a nice welcome into the day. So yeah, those are definitely something we're seeing, and it's a part of our plans as planners. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, awesome. So let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk
Yeah,
about my favorite part of the wedding, the decor.
me too. I love it so much.
So what are you seeing as the trending decor for fall?
Awesome. So for decor, which is definitely one of my favorite topics and portions of the planning, we have seen a really big acceptance of color for the year, and unique color schemes as well. So we are absolutely fans of neutral palettes, but I think it's been really fun to see an emerging acceptance of bold colors, bold accent colors, putting colors together that when you think wedding, you might not necessarily put together. And it's been so fun and festive, like reds and pinks together and greens and yellows and reds together. And it's really fun to see how that's become a bigger part of people's design. It's been
Definitely.
fun for us too to play
Yeah.
with color schemes.
I love seeing all the color going into weddings. Yeah, it's the same thing where I feel like everyone's just coming out of this like, we need to celebrate and let's make it
Yeah.
really bold and colorful. And, there was a time where with our backdrop rentals, all people wanted was a plain white backdrop.
Yep.
But now everyone wants color. It's like, how many colors do you have? We want to mix and match colors. And it's like, forget the white backdrop altogether now. So I totally
Yes.
love this decor trend to add color and be bold.
Absolutely. I agree. I think, especially with florals or rental pieces, and paper goods, it's just such a fun way to pull the colors together and really showcase personalities and where the couple's at, just ready to have a really good time. So I really love seeing that take the forefront on some designs. Another one is lots of fun shapes with signage and layouts and ceremony pieces. I know we kind of saw it earlier this year, like really emerge and be accepted to have all these crazy backdrops and menu shapes. But I think people are taking that and really running with it and renting pieces, making their own pieces, having really fun elements that are never seen before. Maybe taking a lot of this time working from home or having that opportunity to connect with some unique ideas. We're seeing all kinds of shapes make their way into anything from paper goods to backdrops to layouts as well.
How fun. Yeah, I love that. Kind of just adding some interesting textures and patterns and shapes and everything. I think that's really cool. Yeah, we've
Yes.
seen it done even with lighting. People are doing kind of just abstract patterns and shapes and projecting that on the dance floor or on the wall. So I love that. I think that's a really cool trend that's happening for fall.
Absolutely. Yes, I completely agree. It's so fun to see. And the conversations when we're designing with couples just look, I think, so different with what can we do? It just they come to it and they're like, let's think outside the box, and that's who we are. And I'm all for it. So I think we're gonna see a lot of that this season. And yeah, on top of that, with us just loving the design part, I know you do too, just the intentionality behind a lot of the details has grown tremendously. Whether it's a piece of the couple that they really make sure is involved in the wedding day. We've done runners that have the couple's favorite song written on them, or, they have, yeah, and maybe their ceremony, they even include like a really beautiful muslin backdrop that has their favorite quote on it or a piece of their story. Thinking about thank you cards for every place setting and just having, those moments, or there's maybe a color that's really special to them that we incorporate. I think the intentionality has always been there, but I see it being increased in the small details as well.
I love that. And it's both a way to make the couple's personality shine through, and it also makes the wedding really unique. It's not something that everyone has at their wedding. It's something that's just going to be different and unique. So I always am all about anything that you can do to set your wedding apart and make it not so cookie cutter. So I love that couples are being more intentional and making it more personal.
I completely agree. We get asked, how can we make our wedding unique? Say you guys, every person is what it makes the world so unique. And so the more and more you involve their story, them as a person, it's going to naturally be different. So I think that's so fun to see that that's become a really big priority for the trends this season. But yeah, just a couple of other things that kind of shout and come to mind. Soft seating has always been, a gorgeous element of a wedding day and an option, but I think for the ceremony part, especially with possibly more intimate numbers, having mixed matched or intentional soft seating for the reserved areas has been really fun. Especially if you have like that 75 guest count and you have seating for 10 to 20 people that are sitting with the family, having just a really comfortable spot to elevate your design, possibly even use it later on in the evening has been something that's been a huge part, especially with intimate weddings.
Oh, I love that. Okay, now your soft seating, I'm assuming that's like the lingo for like loungy seating or like couches, things like that. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes. Sometimes I get into planning terms, but yes, exactly. It's just lounge furniture. We've even had some weddings that their grandmother passed away or we couldn't have her there, and we've used her couch or like a vintage piece from her collection, and that family sat in that couch and it was like they were sitting with her. And so just like, yeah, intentional seating has been a huge trend. And I think it just starts the day off really special.
Definitely. Yeah. And I love too that you can repurpose that. So if you have that kind of seating for the ceremony, you can also bring it over to the reception to have a really comfortable cocktail hour. So I love, decor, that's beautiful, but also if you can utilize it for multiple parts of the big day,
Yeah.
bonus. So
Yes, I mean, absolutely. We see budgets of all kind, but we also know that a lot of couples have incurred extra costs of possibly having to reschedule or, add additional items to their day. So definitely talk with your planner, definitely talk with each other on how you can possibly reuse things from the beginning to the end, without it being too much work on you guys. But yeah, I think that's a great way to incorporate a lounge, but also use it for the ceremony.
Awesome.
But yeah, I think altogether, we've seen just a change in simple but statement. You can make a huge statement and put your budget towards something that people are really going to remember, instead of going, huge statement in every single area. So we have seen that be a big trend this fall. Like maybe you have an amazing backdrop ready for guests to enjoy throughout dinner or the reception, but you do more simple but intentional place settings and have that floral piece be the wow that people stare at. So yeah, even if you tend to go a little more minimalist, which is also a huge trend, you can still go statement with some pieces that people are going to walk away and be like, do you remember that? Or take pictures of it, which is what you want ultimately. Yeah.
So,
But yeah, these are some fun things.
yeah. Now, I always like to ask planners and kind of take a poll. Fall weddings a lot of times gets very theme based, where you stick with, the reds, the yellows, the oranges, trying to incorporate fall colors and leaves. What are your thoughts on that? Should couples, try to incorporate the fall theme into their wedding, or do you steer clear of that altogether?
Yeah, so I'm all for it if couples want to do it. I totally understand imagining your wedding in the fall and wanting to really play into that. But I'm one to tend to go towards kind of going against the grain. And I think your wedding will really stand out if you're not, maybe that's not the first thing you jump to. Still incorporating some fall elements, but whenever I get asked, well, can we have this color palette? We're getting married in October or we're getting married in April. My answer is absolutely. It's all about the shades. So if you want to go with your, I don't know, pinks or blushes, or if you're more towards dusty blues, but you're getting married in the fall, and you want to add a splash of a unique color to that, like a mustard gold or something, you can do that. It's just about playing with the shades of that color. Maybe you go a little bit more moody with a splash of a bright color, or you incorporate more warmer elements throughout your decor, with it being in the fall. So you can still have that atmosphere, but you don't have to necessarily go with the automatic, let's go with all these burnt colors, or stay within that fall trend altogether. And yeah, that's how your wedding stands out and feels different, personally saying.
Definitely. Yeah, I love that. I think that's kind of the key theme here, is that you don't have to follow rules. There's, nothing that you must do because it's a certain season. So I love that it's just really all about the couple being intentional and making the day your own without trying to please, what you think the standards are, what everyone's expecting, because honestly, there is no set standard that you need to follow, and everyone's going to love it. As long as you make it personal and you make it about yourselves, you can't go wrong.
Absolutely. I think altogether, whether it's colors or how you're doing your wedding timeline, it's kind of the year of rule breaking, which I love. It's like we're breaking the rules with weddings, and we are the first person to see how we can do that and make it unique. So yeah, I absolutely love that question and support going outside the box for sure.
Yes, love it. So Chelsy, tell us more about you and your company.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I'm the owner, and head designer and planner at The Gathering Co. We work mainly in North Carolina, but we travel all around. We've been to New Orleans, we're going to Boston, Virginia, all kinds of places, but we love staying local and having that community. I have an amazing team behind me. We have 3 lead planners and we have 5 coordinator assistants. So we are a group of females that work really hard. And of course, my husband is by my side. So he's our main man for a lot of things. But yeah, we are so tight. We care for every couple like they're part of our team and family. But as far as services go, we do full planning. So we definitely have intentionality behind full planning, and myself and a lead planner who specialize in that. And then we also have design and coordination options for couples that want someone beside them to really help create and build out what we talked about today. And then, of course, have the team there to run the wedding day and logistics. And then we also love to just come alongside couples, check in throughout the planning process, and mainly be there for event management. So yeah, we range from intimate elopements, 2 to 5 people there, to micro weddings. And then we also specialize in those larger guest count numbers that we kind of discussed, of all ranges. So yeah, we have some superpowers in every little area for our specific team members that we try and match our couples with to perfectly fit with their dream. But yeah, we're very design focused, very intentional focused. So if you work with us, we love to really get to know you, and we talk to you a lot. So we love wedding planning, and yeah, those are the main services we offer.
That's amazing. And how can everyone get in touch with you?
Yeah, so we have a website. It's tgcevents.com. We're on Instagram, thegathering.co. And Facebook. So we're there and everywhere we can be. And yeah, for any vendors looking to connect, we also own a shootout company called How We Gather that does biannual shootouts to try those awesome, unique ideas and try and work out trends ourselves and see what we can do so that we can stay fresh for our couples. And yeah, hopefully you'll reach out, and we love to connect with everyone.
Perfect. Well, Chelsy, I had so much fun chatting with you all about fall weddings. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a blast talking about what's to come and getting excited for the season.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed all of those fall wedding trends. And don't forget, you can catch all of our podcast episodes over at transformyourwedding.com. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.
This podcast is brought to you by Rent My Wedding, your one-stop shop for event rentals. Order online and rentals are delivered right to your door. Shipping is free both ways nationwide. Rent lighting, backdrops, photo booths, and more. With the most 5-star reviews in the industry, Rent My Wedding makes rentals easy and affordable. Book your rentals today at www.rentmywedding.com.